So for today, we're going to be doing MacKenzie Child's This Bunny, a sunflower shadow box, and then I'm going to dupe this heart box as well. And so the items I have to use today are this jewelry box that I got for 79 cents at Goodwill. Its original price was $12.99, and evidently it had some soap inside it or something when it was first done. And so here's the other one that had the price tag on it. It said 99 cents, but I actually got it for 74 cents because of a teacher discount. I'm going to show you the inside of them. They're very pretty. They've got music in them where you wind them up and it's a music box. This had some damage, so I had to do a little bit of repair work with some decoupaging some paper on it with Mod Podge to hold the pieces together. And then for the rabbit, I know he looks a little bit different than the other one, but this is the rabbit I chose to use. He was also $1.99, and I think I got him for $1.50 because of my teacher discount, 25% off at Goodwill. These I got at Dollar General, $1 a piece garden stakes. I'm going to use these for the sunflower on the dupes, and then these little plaques were $5 for the two of them at Dollar General, so $2.50 a plaque. And so I'm going to do some work on them to get them to work as the shadow box sunflower. So I took these outside and sprayed them with Rust-Oleum chalk. So now I'm going to decoupage with Mod Podge the flowers onto the bunny. The flowers I cut out of some decoupage paper by Jim Holtz or Tim Holtz, whatever his name is. He's got paper that comes 3 rolls to a package of some vintage looking paper, and this is the roses off of the floral set. I could not find similar flowers to the inspiration piece. I went through scrapbooking papers everywhere, at Michael's, at Hobby Lobby. No such luck. Look for news, you name it, napkins, I couldn't find it. So now, while that was setting up and drying, I came over and started working again on the jewelry box. I had taken pencil and a ruler and just spaced out as evenly as I could the checkerboard pattern across the entire box. And then I'm using this artist brush that came from the art department, where the oil paints and acrylic paints and such are at Michael's. This was a paintbrush set that goes for watercolor and acrylics, and I'm using ink by Waverly to paint in the boxes, and then trying my best to stay inside and not drop my brush outside, having to turn the boxes or the box back and forth just so that my hand doesn't rest where there is wet paint. It's very hard for me to paint with my hand flying up in the air like this. I want to rest it down on something, and of course you don't want to rest it on the wet paint because then you'll end up getting paint everywhere. And this black, the Waverly black, is so black that it goes everywhere. So I take my time, go through and paint in, and I'll spin the box around several times so that I can get into the spaces I want to get into without transferring black paint where I don't want it. Once it's all said and done, there are a couple of places that had some extra black in the white boxes, and so I went back in with the Waverly white paint and touched up some of the squares, and vice versa. There was some white paint in the black sections, so I had to go back in and touch a couple of those squares up as well. And you can see me trying to prop my wrist up here at the end to get where I needed to get and have a steady hand. I think that was the hardest thing about this project, was trying to keep a steady hand while painting inside these. Yeah, and you can see I transferred some black right there on the inside. So much fun! So after I finish this, I will flip it to the top, and I'm going to decoupage some scrapbooking paper that I got on sale at Hobby Lobby. They were having 30% off, so it's always good to find paper at a reduction in cost. I end up covering the whole box with Mod Podge just to seal everything in. There's a little bit of a sheen difference between the Waverly chalk paint with Mod Podge on it and Mod Podge not on it. So I covered the whole box to seal it in so it had the similar sheen all the way across. And while my floral paper is not the same as the floral paper in the inspiration, I really liked this paper. So now I've got some sticky pearl beads. They're like half beads I found in the jewelry section at Walmart so that I could put the trim down around it. These are a little bit smaller than the beads you can get at the Dollar Tree. And I just like that they were daintier looking, and they seem to fit the size of this little box, music box, better. So once those go down, I am done. I put one more little pearl on the very front where there was some damage to the box in the center, like maybe it had a pull tab or something at one point. Yeah, right here. And so I cover up that little damage with one more little pearl. And I'm done with that. So this is what they look like before they started getting painted. I took the stems apart. They were super shiny, so I mixed Mod Podge and white chalk paint and painted over a base coat so that paint would stick to the flowers. And then I'm using acrylic sunflower from Apple Barrel. And once this dried, it was much, much yellower than I had thought it was going to be. So I end up changing plans in a minute, and I get out my Waverly Maze, which is also a yellow paint, but it's a little more subdued, and I go over it with the more subdued yellow. Now there's nothing wrong with this yellow, it was just my preference. I wanted something a little calmer looking so that when I take it to my classroom and hang it up when school starts in a month, that it fits in with my decor in my classroom. So now these are the jumbo popsicle sticks. I'm cutting them down to fit the length of the back of the picture frame that this is going into. And then I paint half of the sticks with white chalk paint by Waverly and half the sticks with ink chalk paint also by Waverly. And I cut one of the sticks in half lengthwise because it would not have covered the back centered without having done that. So once everything is painted, I gave it, you can see me, I've got the maize in my hand now, and I give it a coat of maize, and then I end up giving it, I think, a second coat after this, just to make certain it's less school bus yellow. I just did not like the school bus yellow. And I had to flip it over to the back because this one had holes in it, and the paint kept oozing through the back and kind of globbing up, so I didn't want to have globs of paint on it. That would going to take forever to dry. So after I get the chalk paint on all of them, and I don't end up using that round one once I painted it, the little smallest set of petals, I end up only using the 3 bigger ones. So now I've got the back of the picture frame, and I drew a line down the center so I could place 3 popsicle sticks on each side, black, white, black, and then a little thin piece of white because I split one in half, and then the opposite side. But it was the best way to get these things balanced out. And then I have to flip that one around because I want to put the side that was cut at the factory next to the cut side of the real popsicle stick, and not my side because the side where I split it was not quite as straight. So I glue these guys down, and then I ended up having to go, they were a little bit longer than the ends, the tops and the bottoms was a smidge longer than the frame itself, so I had to go back in, and I do this off camera to trim the ends down so it fits better. Now I'm using Waverly Antiquing Wax just to put some darkness in the center, and baby wipes to wipe the excess off, so it wasn't such a flat looking yellow. Yeah, no, all this different colors in the yellow, and I just wasn't, I thought a little better with distressing. And so I do 3 of the flowers. The 4th set of petals I ended up not using. But after I do these, I'll go back with a little bit of white antiquing wax on the outside. I doctor this one up, but then I don't like it at the end. So Now let's get the white out, and we're going to use baby wipe to rub white around the outside edges a little bit. And I only do that on 2 of them. The one I don't use, which is this one. And then one more of those. I forget which one I pick up. I think it's the middle one. Yeah. And I put white on that one. And so then I go natural, the one the way they were without the white, then this one, and then the next one. And I end up leaving off the last one. I like that look the best. So I saved the popsicle sticks ends that I had cut off, and I used those ends as I'm trying to glue this together. It doesn't want to stick very well, so I end up putting a piece of leftover popsicle stick on it, because I tried that a couple of times and it still doesn't work very well, and it popped off again. So I don't know if I show putting this one on or not, but yeah, there we go. I ended up doing it on all layers, is using popsicle stick to help adhere. And I just put a little bit of glue that had oozed out of the tube onto the little pad I have protecting my table. And I ended up putting the Waverly antiquing wax on top to weigh it down while it dried. This is some ribbon I bought that is the racing checkered stripe. That's the MacKenzie Childs style. I glued 3 pieces of each end together for like a little stack up on it, and then I put that on either side of that little wire looking thing on the back, so that there's something it can adhere to, because otherwise there's too big of a gap and it won't stick to the background. So I smear glue gun all over it and set it where I like it, and now we're done. The next little bit, we're finishing the bunny. I had little ribbons from Walmart that had polka dots on it. The original inspiration piece did not have polka dots. It had the racing stripe ribbon, but there was no place on this bunny that I could have put a big old tied bow. So the little bow was close enough. And then I paint in a little bit of a nose. I leave the mouth not painted in. So it resembles the original. Here we are outside, so we can see the finished product. The original, that was $156, and my version, that was less than $5. The heart box, that would have been $31 on sale. My version, that was literally $1.50, I think, for the little beads. And then the rabbit, that would have been a $53 rabbit, and mine was a $3 purchase from the Goodwill. I hope you enjoyed my dupes of MacKenzie Childs inspiration pieces, and if you like what you see, subscribe. I am trying to get into at least 1 video a week going up, and so hit subscribe so you'll be notified when they go up. Thank you very much.